and welcome to the Las Vegas Advisor with Anthony and Andrew. Today is our very first Jackpots Only update episode.
Show. Yeah. I mean, we thought we'd give something different to try. Remember, we talked about how we're going to do, a regular schedule of things.
That's right.
And we're going to try for a few months, doing once a month, we're going to do Jackpots Only.
That's right.
And, when we did it in the weekly updates, everybody liked them.
That's right. And you submit them. You continue to submit them. So, we have a backlog.
Yeah, so many of them. So we're going to be today we're going to do 3. Mm-hmm. We don't know if we're going to do 3, every week. We might do 4 or 5. It kind of depends on how long the story is.
Right.
And that's one of the things we're gonna make sure that every one of these, there's going to be no set number, but each one's going to have either a good story or some kind of a lesson or something. Some will be big jackpots, some will be small. It's all relative.
Yeah.
Somebody hits a $200 nickel royal.
That's awesome.
They're as happy as the guy who hit the $5 royal, right, based on what kind of money they've got and what they got to play with.
Yeah.
So, we're going to be being across the gamut there,
And this episode in particular is interesting because all of these jackpots that we're going to showcase are recent. And you, Anthony, were involved in all 3.
Yeah, and most of the time we weren't there. And we want you guys to send in the jackpots. The more you send, the more we have to work with.
That's right.
But all 3 that we're going to talk about, I had something to do with. And we figured, let's stick them all in one, and we'll see how it goes.
That's right. And in future episodes, we may even point back to some that you have already sent us if there's an important lesson or something that we want you to learn from that particular jackpot.
Okay, and one thing I want to say here, too, is that we're not actually going to be playing while we do this. Mm-hmm. And for that, Andrew, you're going to be doing slot reviews, another something we're going to try.
That's right.
You can actually watch the play if that's what you're looking for, and Andrew's going to run that show pretty much.
That's right. In an attempt to expand our audience, we're going to be taking some select slot machines and talking about how to play, what to look for, and give you a little bit of education and show you some good hits.
Yeah, and I'm not going to do that much with that one because I don't like slots. And Andrew loves slots.
I do.
So,
I'm guilty.
Yeah, so that's going to be that. But that's something different. Today it's jackpots.
All right, so without any further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Anthony to talk about the first of our 3 jackpots of this week. And we have names for all of them, right?
We named them.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but we named them. This one's called KKK.
That's right, the KKK.
Which is Keno at Copper Keg.
That's right, or it could be Copper Keg Keno.
Yes, any way you want to do it, as long as there's 3 Ks in a row.
That's right.
And I'll tell you why we're doing this one.
Yeah.
Is when we decided we were going to do jackpots, I was thinking about it. I was driving around one day, and I stopped at the Copper Keg, which there are like 3 of them in Vegas, but this one was up on Rainbow and Sahara, essentially. And while I was in there, I literally was, having a beer and thinking about this show, and I hear this commotion, and I'm like, somebody hit something. That's when you hear that noise, it's unmistakable.
Yeah.
And everybody's looking and everybody's clapping and everything.
Hand pay.
I says it's either a Royal Flush or Keno.
Yeah.
Who knows? And I'm listening, and I think I hear 9,000. I go, 9,000, that's a lot for a bar.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're playing a $1 Royal, you get a $1 Royal, it's 4,000. You get a big Keno hit, it's 3,000-4,000 bucks.
Yeah.
But like 9,000. So, I perk up and I'm listening. Wasn't 9,000. 49,000.
Wow. That's life-changing money.
Well, so you know what that was. That was Keno.
Yeah.
Right? And sure enough, went over and took a look, and the guy had hit, I said, what did he hit? What was he playing? They said, he was playing a 25-cent Keno.
Right.
7 spots, fully loaded.
Right.
Right. So I'm like, okay, I guess that, that can mean something different in different bars. I guess he's, he must have been playing pretty big. All right. So I went over and took a look, and it turns out he was playing 14 coins on 2 7 spots.
Wow.
And 1 coin each on an 8 spot and a 9 spot. So he was betting $7.50 a hand. He hit the 2 7 spots.
He hit 2 7 spots. Like, how hard is it to hit 1? He hit 2.
Well, I can tell you how hard. It's a 1 in 41,000 shot.
Wow.
To hit 7 out of 7.
That's like a Royal Flush.
Yeah. It's almost the same number as a Royal Flush, about 1 in 40,000 for a Royal Flush.
Wow.
So he hits 2 of them. So anyway, he hits those 2, and the whole place is going nuts. And there's this, this guy's happy as hell. He could hardly talk. I guess it turns out he was a local. But there's a bunch of things that kind of go with this.
Yeah.
When you kind of, delve into this. The first thing is the Copper Keg owns its own machines. So they had to absorb that hit. And, typically when a bar gets a big hit, it's not something that hurts them too much because they have what's called a route operator. And the route operator takes a percentage of the profits, but stands for big hits like this and pays it off so it doesn't come out of the cash flow of the business and so forth.
Interesting.
They own their own machines. So they had to, they have to make this $49,000 up. But listen to this. I mean, this is just kind of like a lesson in how tough Keno is to play. All right, the game he was playing, I went back later when everything had cleared out, and I looked at the game, I looked at the schedule, and we ran the schedule, and I'm going to talk about where you can find that later on also in a book. 87.68% was the return on this game.
So that's a very high house edge.
Yeah, over 12%.
Yikes.
So this guy's fading a 12% edge. That means, what do you think in Keno? How many hands in a minute? Maybe 10?
Yeah, maybe.
Probably. So let's say 10 hands in a minute. At that vig, the player is losing $9.25 per minute.
Really?
That's the drain on Keno, $9.25 per minute. So that would mean to make up that 49,000, the bar needs to get 88 hours of Keno on that machine.
Okay.
All right. So for the one guy to lose it back, 88 hours, he's got to play a lot of Keno to lose it back if he doesn't hit something in between, right? But the bar only needs 88 hours. So you got 20 different players. That's, 4 hours apiece, roughly.
Right, right. Now they got to play fully loaded just like he did, right, to get that.
Right. The way it was playing, if they're playing that way. But anyway, so that's one interesting thing. He was able to buck that 12% edge. It's, it's a tough one. Second thing that I noticed, when he hit it, nobody wanted to leave the bar.
Okay. Now, why did nobody want to leave the bar?
Yeah, let's think about that. All right. Now, first of all, it was shift change.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they pool their tips there. I don't know if it goes into one 24-hour thing or if it goes by shift or if they keep, I don't know. They keep their own. I don't know what they do. But nobody wanted to leave because they wanted to see what the tip was going to be and if they were going to get a piece of it. Not only that, but none of the customers wanted to leave. Why?
Because sometimes in Vegas, people have a superstition and they'll go around and give you a lucky 20 if they get a big hit. But this is a super big hit, so maybe he gave out some lucky hundies.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened.
Okay.
I went back after and I talked to some people. I said, what happened with the guy? They go, well, he tipped $5,000.
Okay,
which is even more than 10%.
That's pretty generous, yeah.
Very generous. He was a local. He was a guy that they all knew. He walked around giving away 20s and 100s. They said he was on fire. He went back and played again and kept winning, nothing like that, but kept winning and winning. He'd get up every time he'd win. He'd walk around. I talked to one player that was there and said she got $500.
Wow.
So that's, again, that's another part of the whole Vegas thing. When somebody wins, nobody wants to leave. I left.
Incredible.
I had places to go.
That's
I left.
incredible.
I didn't get a lucky 20.
Now, I actually noticed something about the Keno hit, too, that is interesting, is that he was playing mostly 7 spots, and then the one that he hit was covered, right? So he hit it twice, but it was the same, and we call that an H spot, where it's 3 with 1 in the middle, and then 3 on the other side, because it looks like an H, and you can play that design all over the board.
See, you would know that. I wouldn't know that. Yeah. I mean, when I look at it, yep, I can see that it is an H.
Yeah.
But that's why you're here, Andrew. You know Keno. Keno and slots, man.
I'm Andrew Hunt. Sometimes I play the H.
So very good, very good. So anyway, I thought it was brilliant. First of all, I've hardly ever seen a hit that big in a bar. It's one of the biggest I've seen. Second was just all these side things that went along with it.
Yeah.
Right. One interesting thing. There's our book Gambling 102. There's a 25-page video Keno chapter.
And we don't promote that so much. That's actually really useful if you're a Keno player.
Yeah, you can actually look at the return percentages of dozens and dozens of schedules there.
Right.
And, not that this guy cared. He was going to play it. Didn't matter what it was. But congrats, and that's the KKK, our first jackpot. All
right. And now for story number 2. The title is called Pre-Game for Walmart. Take it away, Anthony.
Pre-game for Walmart. Okay, here's another one I witnessed.
Okay.
And this one came before the one we just did. All right, I was in Magoo's.
Okay.
All right, Magoo's bar. Sounds like I go to a lot of bars, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does sound like that.
Well, that's because I do. All right, Magoo's is located at West Spring Mountain in Buffalo.
Okay.
Another one I like. When you go there, look for Jennifer, the bartender.
Hi, Jennifer.
All right. Okay, so I'm sitting and just doing what I do, having a beer and playing their best video poker game, which is 7-5 bonus poker, not too bad.
Pretty good.
98%. And all of a sudden I hear, what? Commotion.
Yeah.
Right?
Ding, ding,
Commotion again, just like the other thing.
Yeah.
And I look over and there's a young lady and her mother. And her mother had just hit, she had just hit 4 deuces with an ace.
Nice.
All right. Now, in regular Deuces Wild, that wouldn't mean much, but we're playing in this game. She was playing Deuces Wild bonus.
That's right.
And the ace is a special kicker in that game. So she holds 3 deuces and gets another deuce and the kick and the ace.
Incredible.
I'm going, hey, man, that's fantastic. So the game they were playing, as I say, Deuces Wild bonus, 96.27%. Not a great game.
No.
But they were playing it for 50 cents, so they got a $1,000 jackpot on that one.
Perfect.
All right, so that's not the end of the story. I thought it was. I go, way to go. I go, that's really good. And she told me, that's not the end of the story.
Let's hear the end of the story.
She goes, this is our second $1,000 jackpot today.
Wow.
And she goes, when we were at Yorkie's, another bar in town earlier in the day, and her mom, she says, my mom hit a regular 25-cent Royal Flush for $1,000.
Perfect.
All right, so I don't know what they were playing there, but I said, so you went from here to Yorkie's. I go, what were you doing at Yorkie's? She goes, we were pre-gaming for Walmart.
Hilarious. That's great.
And if nobody knows, this may be a phrase that everybody uses, but I never heard it till I got to Vegas. And it's like a pre-game for something, meaning we're going to go to a game, but we're going to tailgate first.
Right.
Right. And it's like, it happens on dates. Like, I'd ask a girl, like, we're going to go out to date. She goes, yeah, you want a pregame?
Yeah, it's a party before the event.
Right. So that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
And they literally had to go get liquored up because they had to go to Walmart.
I don't blame them.
So I told
Shopping
her,
can be stressful.
Yeah, I told her, I said, you were pre-gaming for Walmart. I said, that's like the greatest phrase I've heard in a long time. And I said, you're going to be on our new show when we get it going.
Well, it sounds like a nice pregame and a nice postgame. The other thing, Anthony, is that these hits are both under hand pay threshold.
Yeah, they both were.
So this is great.
Yeah, they didn't have to fill out any paperwork or anything. Just to, Yorkie's another good bar.
Okay.
Again, we say we want to, put some information out there. Yorkie's is part of the Ellis Island and Village Pubs bars.
So the food's going to be good.
The food is great. They have like the prime rib special. It's great. This Yorkie's located at 5325 South Fort Apache.
Okay.
All right. Good place to hang out. Good food.
Okay. Just so you know. And then the other thing, Anthony, this story reminds me of the other day I was playing at one of your favorite bars, Jackson's, which has that great steak special, and a coupon from the member rewards book. And I saw a mother-daughter team just like this, but they were playing Keno, and they got an 8 out of 8, and they were betting 50 cents. I believe that was a $5,000 hit.
Wow, not bad.
And that was pretty massive.
Not bad. Not quite like the 14 coin 7 for 7. But,
that's incredible.
But not bad at all.
Yeah,
not bad at all. 1 in 230,000, by the way. That 8 out of 8.
8 out of 8 is 1 in 230,000. Wow.
So, congrats on that one.
And now for our third and final jackpot, we call this one Mistaken Identity.
This is my favorite.
Yeah, this one's pretty cool. Tell us, Anthony, catch us up. What happened?
All right, this one kind of shows you that anything can happen.
Right.
All right, so I got a friend. His name is Lou.
Okay, Lou.
He's a good handicapper. He handicaps a lot of different games, but he does a lot of UFC, and he's really good.
Okay.
And I like to watch and bet the UFC. So he and I got to be buddies. He actually has a service, and I'm not really big on pick services, but Lou is a really honest guy.
Gamble Lou.
Gamblou.com.
Okay.
All right. So Lou says to me, he goes, I want to get into. He doesn't live in Vegas. I think he lives in Phoenix. And he says, I want to get into video poker. And he says, what book should I read? And my go-to book now for beginning video poker is Frugal Video Poker.
Okay.
Gene Scott.
Yeah, we love Gene Scott.
Yeah, and I just think it's of all the great, Bob Dancer stuff that there is, I just think for the absolute beginner that Gene Scott's Frugal is the best. So he gets Frugal Video Poker, and he comes to town, and he's telling me this story. He says, I got a really good story on jackpot for you. And he goes, so I read Gene Scott, and she says to play 9-6 jacks or better.
Okay.
All right, 96.54%.
Because that's the best pay schedule.
Game, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, that's in the back of my mind. I'm going to play 9-6. He was staying at South Point. They got plenty of 9.6 there. But anyway, he wants to go get pizza at the Blue Diamond Saloon because they had a Naked Pizza there, which are still around. But Blue Diamond Saloon is no longer open. So he gets a ride share. He goes all the way out to Blue Diamond, to the Blue Diamond Saloon, and it's now a slot house, like a Dottie's, but not a Dottie's. It's something else. I can't remember what he told me it was.
Okay, like a small gaming
Yeah,
place.
it wasn't one of the big ones. And he was going to turn around and leave, but he couldn't because the rideshare had another fare and had to leave. So he decides he'll go in and call somebody else. He goes in, he looks around, he finds a 9.6 game. And he's like, okay, I'm going to play it. Calls for his ride, and he's waiting. Takes a $20 bill, puts it into the machine, hits the button, and he hits max play.
Okay.
All right. Now, in this particular thing, like most of these slot houses, max play means 100 coins.
Right. You always have to check. That's a pro tip we've talked about.
Yeah. So it eats his entire 20.
Okay.
And it goes to 80 coins. He's got 80 quarters, $20 going on the one. He gets dealt a pair of aces. He keeps the aces first hand because his whole 20's gone.
Yep.
Gets 2 more aces, bang, bang. He gets 4 aces.
Incredible.
Right?
Yeah.
Boom, 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 ding, ding, ding. It's going up, 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 up. And I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty good hit. 9.6, quad. That's pretty good. He goes, I made $3,200. I go, wait a minute, $3,200? I go, something's wrong about this story. You don't make $3,200 on a Jacks or Better game hitting a quad.
Yeah.
I go, you sure you were playing Jacks or Better? He goes, I was playing 9.6. I said, you got a picture of it? Shows me a picture, right?
Yeah.
He's playing 9.6 for double bonus.
Right.
Okay, so instead of the aces paying 250 coins, the aces paid 800 coins.
Wow.
All
There
right.
you go.
Instead of I think I said it's a 96.38% game instead of what he thought. All right, instead of it paying on $1.25, it's paying on $20.
Yeah. There you go. 80 credits.
Right. So he's in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Playing the wrong game, making the wrong bet.
At the
One
right
hand,
time.
and makes $3,200. Now, is that a jackpot?
That's a wonderful jackpot. $3,200, especially when you think you're making a $1.25 bet.
Anything can happen. And I told him, I said, send me the thing. He sends me the photo of the hit, and it's titled "Gene Scott's My Hero."
Hilarious.
Gene Scott didn't tell him to do that. He didn't do what Gene Scott said. But Lou's a smart guy. He won't make that mistake again.
Well, sometimes you do. Sometimes even, when you know what to look for, you hit that max bet button.
Andrew, how many times, at least 2 or 3 times, I've misidentified a schedule on when we did the jackpot of the week. I've misidentified a schedule. You've got to look closely.
Yeah, you do.
So here's a quick primer, right?
Yeah.
We're going to put it, we've got it up on the screen. We've got, these are the Bob Dancer strategy cards.
Right. So these are other things to get. These are actually really helpful.
Yeah, this is the top of the strategy cards that shows you the different schedule. And we've got the 9.6 Jacks or Better versus the 9.65. Lou actually played 9.64, but against the 9.65 schedule. Doesn't make a difference for this. The way you can tell fast that you're not playing a 9.6 game is to look at the payout for 2 pair.
Okay.
Because in Jacks or Better, it goes 1 for a pair, 2 for 2 pair, 3, 4, 6, 9, up to the flush and full house.
That's right.
In the other one, you can see it goes 1, 1, and then up the ladder 1, 1, 3, 4, 6, 9. So that 9 and 6 are still there, but you can tell by looking at the 2 versus the 1. And that's what you have to look for when you're checking schedules.
And you've told me in the past that's a big difference when you're getting double money on 2 pair.
Oh yeah, it's a big difference. But you're almost always, when you see that 1, you're going to have higher payouts at the top, but the drain, it's going to take your money. You get 2 pairs so many times, and you're only getting 1 instead of 2. So you've got to be very careful. So there you go. That's it. That's our 3 jackpots. That's our first jackpot show. We're going to do another one, then another one, and another one, and we'll see how they go, and we'll go from there.
That's right. So one last reminder, here's the website or the email address. The website, LasVegasAdvisor.com. Remember to check the link in the description box. If you want to become a member, you get all the great info, and then you also get the member rewards coupon book. Anything else to add, Anthony?
No, just send us those jackpots.
Yeah,
you never know what comes out of them. We've seen so many of these, and we read the stories, and they're just some great ones.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what we can come up with.
To Las Vegas, where the stick man Traditional TV is going away. Hollywood is starting to fade. People are demanding real stories from real people. Our voices are now being heard in our own way. Podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok Live are becoming the norm. Internet TV has now reached the highest demand in human history. Social media shows is now the new media of the century.
Spent a month in New York and a month in Jamaica trading Tom Cruise and Brian Brown in a movie cocktail.
I want to do what that guy's doing. It made Flair mainstream.
Lights are set, judges are ready.
I stood there probably 20 minutes and just watched. I had goosebumps. It's so difficult, it's so extreme.
Somebody should do a documentary.
Showmanship has been a big part of bartending since day one.
And then Vegas just blew up because, entertainment capital of the world.
I wanted to win.
$50,000, $100,000 purses at different competitions around the world.
I don't think people have ever really seen what we do to prepare for these things. Chapow. This is what it's all about.
So what went wrong? Egos took over and things were said which shouldn't have been said. It was going bigger and bigger and bigger.
There are growing fears of prolonged instability on Wall Street.
The money went out the window. You can sell a cocktail. You can't sell flair behind the bar. We had to deal with the prissy-ass bartenders.
We all want to be the best.
Well, my move is more difficult because I make it look easy.
Nights like tonight make me want to just stop competing because I don't think I'm cut out for it.
And I was standing there with my tooth just broke right in half.
Why do I do this? Why do I suffer through this?
I don't really know why it's male-dominated.
There's absolutely male toxicity.
You want to play with glass, you're going to cut yourself.
Literally was up here and would touch bottom.
Got Films is a full-service production company that provides motion picture quality content and production services for use in the film and TV industry. Looking for a seasoned crew, high-quality equipment, or other production services for your film, TV, commercial, corporate convention, sports, news, or interview project? Your search stops here. Some of our projects include NASCAR, American Restoration, Pawn Stars, Counting Cars, Top Chef, BattleBots, Forge and Fire, and Street Outlaws. We have also produced over 60 feature films and documentaries. We're ready for all your needs. Whatever your project, whatever your budget, big or small, Got Films got you. GotFilms.com.
Hi, this is Andrew with the Las Vegas Advisor, and we are here as part of our interview series with Andrew Ewall. Nice to have you, Andrew. Today is February 21st in the year 2025, but we might be airing this a little bit later.
Yeah, this is the date we're airing it. I mean, this is the date we're conducting
We're recording it, yeah. Now, I'm going to kick it over to Anthony to give a little background on Andrew.
Okay, we got a couple of Andrews here. So The first thing we're going to do is, this is going to be Andy, and this is going to be Andrew.
Right.
All right, good enough?
Sounds good to me.
All right, so let me introduce. Andrew is, no, and I don't do it. Andy is the author of our book, The Blackjack Insiders, How Two Pit Bosses Beat the Casinos at Their Own Game. He's also an experienced casino pit boss, pit worker. He's gone all the way from dealer to floorman to pit boss to shift manager, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
That's right.
So he's here, in a dual capacity. We're going to talk about his book and his upcoming book, and we're going to talk a little bit about what goes on in the casino, on the casino floor. Before we do that, though, I want to make one announcement that Andy's actually filling in for Willie Allison. Willie runs the World Gaming Protection Conference that runs every year. And that's going to run this year, March 11th through 13th. We were going to have Willie on so he could talk about the conference. But Willie's in Australia, where he lives. So at the last second, he said, I forgot to tell you I'm in Australia. I can't do the show today. And I called Andy, and he's like, yeah, okay, I'll do it.
Let's do it.
And you know that. Willie's conference. It's an industry-only conference, by the way, so it's not like everybody can go. But if you're in the industry, you're into protection of your games on the casino side, it's the best in the world when it comes to this stuff. You would agree?
There's nothing better. I mean, the World Game Protection Conference offers so much training for industry professionals and surveillance and security and loss prevention, table game specific stuff. It's really incredible. I've gone every year that I've had the chance to. And
yep, I've been there a few times myself, and so there you go, Willie. Go see Willie's show. All right, so let's talk about. Let's kick this off. We'll talk about the Blackjack Insiders here.
Yeah.
And the first thing I want to say about this is that I want to explain why we took this book. You know, we have Huntington Press, without question. I've said this before, in all the humbleness I can summons. We publish the best blackjack books in the world. We really do.
No question.
And as a result of that, we get a lot of blackjack books offered to us. And I would say we probably turn down 10 for every one that we accept.
Right.
All right, so this is one that we did accept. So why did we do it? It's not necessarily a how-to book. It's not the kind of book that you would read to say, all right, how does card counting work? It's a once you know how to, what's it like book. And that's what I really loved about this. It's about two pit bosses who were you pit bosses?
Yeah.
A dealer and a pit boss. A dealer and a pit boss, I believe. And you were working outside of Vegas, but in Nevada.
Yeah.
And they got tired of being on that side of the table and decided they wanted to go out and become card counters themselves and essentially become professionals. And that's what they did. So what's fascinating about this is, like, you know, a lot of people do that. I did that. I read a book on blackjack and said, this is what I want to do. But they were on the other side. And what does a card counter do? A card counter tries to evade the casino bosses. Mm-hmm. So this is what they figured was their big ace in the hole, is that they were casino bosses and they knew how to evade casino bosses.
Right.
And that's pretty much what this book is about. Is that about right?
Yeah. It gave us sort of an invaluable edge. It gave us an insight into what was going on inside the pit that nobody else, a lot of players don't have that kind of information. So.
Yeah. Okay, so here's an excerpt from the introduction. In the process, we were backed off and barred. We were chased out of pits and into parking lots, even rousted from hotel rooms. We survived the gut-wrenching losing streaks where all our hard-won gains, all the way down to our original bankroll and below, were in jeopardy, and rode the roller coaster back up to the heights only to plunge headlong toward oblivion and climb back up again. Well, that's a pretty good start.
That describes the journey pretty well. It's quite a roller coaster for sure.
Tell us about that. All right, so tell us about what it's like to have to deal with the losses. I mean, that's what people don't understand. They think it's just a gravy train. Right?
Yeah.
And it's anything but.
There's a misconception that once you learn how to count cards, you just walk into a casino and win, right? But if only it were that easy. If it was that easy, everybody would do it. And it's simply not like that. In reality, you're going to lose more often than you win, but you're just going to win more money than you lose, right?
Yeah. And how did you deal with it? I mean, I know when I started, I had crushing losses right off the start. And it's you just question everything about your whole decision, right? And I mean, how did you get through that? And
yeah.
What gave you the confidence that you were good enough?
I got really lucky in the beginning, I think, and I had a lot of success right away, which was helpful for my ego back then, because I was really hesitant to even start doing this because I thought, it could work for somebody else, but it could never work for me. I thought I just wasn't going to be able to do it for whatever reason. I had this kind of monkey on my back about that. But I had a lot of success right away, so it was really nice. It helped build me up, it helped build my confidence. Confidence is important when you're playing. You don't want to be second-guessing yourself and all that. But I did get to a crushing loss a few months in, and that was the first big test. And you're really not ready for it. When you think that you're supposed to win this hand, you've got all the right moves. You know what the count is. You've got the right bet out. You're making the right move, and then the dealer can still pull a 7-card 21. It still happens even to card counters, and it's pretty crushing. How did I deal with it? Probably not well in some cases. I was going through some personal things back in that time too. I was going through a divorce, and when I took my biggest losing streak, my biggest, most nasty losing streak that lasted more than a few months, I've said since then that was even harder than the divorce because, like you said, Anthony, it made me question everything. I questioned, can I really do this? Am I doing it right?
Yeah.
Practice session after practice session with my partner, Mark. I was on the ball. I was just getting crushed. And I probably wasn't dealing with that very well, to be honest.
Well, you know, Anthony's always told me that, like, even as a card counter, you're working with, I think it's a 0.075.
Like 0.75%, less than 1%.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, everyone goes, well, you know, it could be 1.5, 1.25. And realistically, you know, you can't spread the way you need to spread to get that kind of advantage. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you played it, you know, kind of a run and gun style.
Yeah.
But realistically, less than 1% edge.
Yeah, especially now with the way the games are, right? The good games are harder to find now.
Well, also you've talked about denomination, Anthony, and if you have, you know, if you're betting a bigger denomination, you're just going to have bigger swings.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You know, absolutely. You've got to play within bankroll. But, you know, talking about accepting the losses and all, the other part of it, what this book brings out, you want to say something else about this book? Again, it's not a how-to, yet it was edited by Arnold Snyder, right? He was the first editor of the book. One of, you know, first ballot Hall of Famer, inaugural Hall of Famer, Blackjack Hall of Fame, one of the top blackjack experts in the world. So the information in here is very, very solid. But what makes it great is, you know, the two-way view of being pit boss and player, but also life as a pro. And you talk a lot in the book about how kind of alone you are out there. It's not really something good for relationships. It's not really something good for family men. You know, you want to speak to that a little bit?
It was good for my relationship with my partner that I was playing with, but that's about it. I mean, I really didn't have much of a social life back then, and we didn't have connections like we have now, right? I didn't really know any other players. I didn't have this community. So yeah, it was very lonely, and I'll talk about that more probably in the future. I have some stuff on my upcoming project about that.
Okay, so one of the things you wrote about that was interesting to me is the style you played, kind of a churn and burn, right? You know, like when I played, it was all about, you could only play in Vegas almost, you know, in Vegas and Reno. So it was like, don't burn your outs. But you were all over the United States, and it was like hit and run, and who cares? Was that the way to go? Are you happy with that choice?
I'm happy with that choice because we were in a specific situation where we had a goal. We knew that we were only going to do this probably for a year, maybe a year and a half. So a lot of the places that we did go to all over the country, we knew that we would never be back. Mm-hmm. So let's hit them. Let's go until we weren't worried about longevity. We weren't worried about anything really. So we used some tactics that would probably not be good for longevity purposes now, but no regrets. I mean, that was a fun style to play, and it maximized our returns as well.
Isn't it interesting? You were playing that way before we published our book, The 21st Century Card Counter by Colin Jones, which espouses this style. It's like, forget about laying cover, forget about losing EV by making, you know, suboptimal plays. Just get the money and get out. And if they throw you out first, that's the way it goes, right?
That's exactly right. I wrote something for you guys shortly before my book was published, and it ended up connecting me with Colin, whose book came out, I think, within a few months of mine. So it was really great to see that players are agreeing with that now, that you can just go in and hit them and not worry about being backed off. And
They don't play like the dinosaurs. You know, like the dinosaurs used to play slow, and they play fast.
It's a new day.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Cool. Now, when you were card counting, you know, Anthony always talks about the knockout count. What type of card count? What type of count were you using?
I was using a simple high-low count. I've not dabbled with knockout. I've not dabbled with any of the other unbalanced counts or the really sophisticated, like Revere counts and things like that. Mm-hmm. We used a simple high-low. We figured it was the easiest. It was left us the least amount of room for mistakes. So yeah, that's what we went with.
Yeah,
it's tried and true for a reason.
Yeah, everybody, you know, they say it's either high-low or KO, and you know, you chose high-low, and it worked really well for you. So you know, another high-low advocate right here.
Absolutely. I'm all high-low all the time.
Well, Anthony, you were saying that in the knockout count, you don't have to track the true odds, I think it is?
No, it's
the true count.
The true count, yeah. You don't have to make a true count conversion. But if you're good with it, I mean, you guys, you practice hard. Yeah. You made sure you were good with it. If you're good with it, you can do those mental exercises and do it. But for most people, KO, it's a different kind of count where you don't have to do it. That's why.
Can I add in that if I were to learn a new system from page one right now, I would probably choose KO.
Yeah, a lot of people say that.
But since high-low was what I was familiar with at the time, and it was what my partner was familiar with, that was the route that we chose. But to your point, it is probably an easier system to execute. So if I were to start now, I would probably choose KO.
I wish it was my point. I've heard Anthony say that.
Okay, one more question about Blackjack Insiders.
Sure.
Your partner was Mark Stevens.
Yeah.
I've been asked a bunch of times. We know that Andy went back into the business, and we're going to talk about that. What did Mark do? Did he keep playing? Did he go back like you did?
What did Mark do, or whatever his real name is?
Mm-hmm.
We both sort of just stepped away from the game for a little while, and then might have stepped back into it a little bit. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he, as far as I know, lives in Utah. I talk to him every once in a while, and he got into nursing, I think, became a registered nurse, and started a new family.
Did he like the book?
He loved it. Yeah, we had some really good conversations about it, and I asked him for some input too. I was like, "Am I leaving anything out? Give me some of your stories that you remember that I'm not talking about." So he was really helpful through this process.
Well, I think this is great. Again, I'll say, anybody who wants to read about blackjack, it's one of the best books to read about blackjack. It's not going to put you through a bunch of drills. You're not going to have to learn how to do this, but you're going to see what that life's all about. Mm-hmm. The highs and the lows and the glamour and the not so glamour. This is one of the better books for that.
I appreciate that. That's really what the goal was. There's a lot of great how-to books. There's a lot, and Huntington Press publishes the best of them. And there's a lot of people that could do that better than I can. So I wanted to give you more of like you said, what it's about, what it's like once you learn, and what to expect.
Okay, so how about giving us a little bit more with we've got another book from you.
Oh yeah,
which we've agreed to acquire and publish. It's tentatively called Blackjack Insiders: The Untold Stories.
Yeah, let's talk about this. This is a really exciting project. So when I wrote the first book, there were a few things that you might remember from the original manuscript where you asked me, or the editor asked me, can you say this? Like this might not be a good idea to say. And I decided a few years ago that it might be time to say some of those things. So we've got some new stories. We've got some new perspectives that I didn't put in the first one. We've got some new things that have happened since the first one. I mentioned a few minutes ago that Mark and I might have stepped back into the game a little bit, and it's hard to stay away from blackjack.
Sure.
Take my word for it. It's a pretty fun life. So yeah, we came back in a little bit, and we dabbled some more, and got some more stories about that.
So this second book, from what I've seen so far, and what I've been told by Dee Castleman, your editor, is that it covers both sides. It covers the player side, and things that were not said in the first book from the player side, and things that have not been said from behind the tables as well.
Yeah, I got a lot of questions after the first book came out about what the next thing was going to be, and a lot of people said they wanted more casino stuff. So I wanted to include that. I talk a lot about what goes on sort of behind the scenes, behind the curtain, if you will, from the table games point of view, from all of the casino stuff. Yeah, it's really fun to get into. It should be some information that nobody's ever thought of, or those questions that you kind of wonder when you walk in a casino and you're not sure who to ask. So we cover a lot of that kind of stuff.
Cool.
That's great.
I mean, go ahead. Sorry, Andrew.
Oh no, I was saying that's great. The funny question that kind of came to mind is like, as a pit boss on the casino side, like how much does somebody have to win for the pit boss to go, okay, let's look at this guy. Why is he winning? Is $1,000, $500 up? Like, what is it?
It's always dependent on kind of where you are, and if you're in a high limit room or if you're in a small casino in the middle of nowhere. It's more of, it has to be a perfect storm of things. I've written about this a few times where it has to be like a move or a certain play that you make, or a certain big hand that you win or something, where it sort of makes the pit boss or the surveillance person that's watching you go, okay, like maybe let's take another look at this guy. There's not going to be like one quantifiable answer to stay off the radar.
They're not going to say the guy's up $5,000. Let's just watch him closer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once you start getting a player that's in a high denomination bet for wherever they are. You're probably going to get a little more extra attention. But yeah, I wish there was one answer so I could just tell everybody and everybody could stay off the radar, but it's not that simple.
Well, that's fair.
Unfortunately.
It varies from casino to casino. But did you go there with a certain denomination in mind?
Yeah, we had a pretty strict betting structure based off of our bankroll, and that's the only way to do it and be successful.
Yeah, that's part of it is knowing how much you can afford to bet based on your bankroll.
It's super important. That's what separates. One of the things that separates a good card counter from what I call the perfect customer, which is somebody that thinks they can card count and is under bankrolled or overconfident.
One thing I wanted to address that I know is going to be in the next book, The Untold Stories, and that we're going to delve into quite a bit, but I thought we could preview it here.
Sure.
Is the changing of, and everybody wants to know about this, how the comp scene is changing with, what we're reading from what you're turning into us and what we're hearing from the outside is that it's the power of the pen that you used to have as a floorman is like gone, and that it's all hosts and computers now. Can you speak to that?
Not only is the power of the pen gone, but the pen itself is actually gone. We can't. You can't even find a pen in the pit. Sometimes you're so right. You used to be able to just. Me too. When I was playing, I would walk up to the floor supervisor and say, "Can I get to whatever restaurant?" And they would just print it or write it or whatever. And that's just not the case anymore. The people in the pit have almost no authority to comp whatsoever. I mean, you have to get to the people that you see. Their boss's boss might be able to do something, but they probably won't.
So what can a low stakes player do then? I mean, a lot of the frugal gambler stuff maybe doesn't apply so much anymore. Well, especially on the strip.
Before it was so subjective to whoever was in front of you, but now it's all quantifiable. It's all tracked on the player's card. It's all how many points are acquired on the card. So your value is shown. Like when you put your player's card in, it shows you exactly what you're worth to the casino, and that's what you're able to withdraw in comps now. Now, once you get into like maybe a second or third tier player, wherever you're playing and whatever those denominations might be, you can get into a casino host. You can talk to marketing people. Those are going to be the people that take care of almost all the comps.
Well, here's what's going to happen with this new book. They all go through me. If it's a blackjack book, it goes through me.
Right.
And we can only talk about so much in a 35, 40-minute interview, right? The new book, when I read it, if these questions aren't answered, we're going to send it back.
Please do.
And they're going to be answered in this new book. So, I mean, wait for it. We're pretty close. I think a lot's going to be answered there.
Oh, for sure. That's one of my favorite things to do is answer these kinds of questions. So hit me with all of them.
Cool. Okay, another element of the new book, of the Untold Stories, we're going to have a lot of what we call call-outs. Right? Call-outs are kind of like the things you read in a book where you go, it's part of the story, but it's not of what we're talking about. It's just something off to the side, right? They're usually in a box. There are going to be a lot of them in this book. And we're going to call them either Ask Andrew or Advice from Andrew. And you were saying it would be great if people would send in, like put in the comments under here, whatever things that they would like to know that you could address, correct?
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I field a lot of questions just naturally from this, but I'm sure there's some great ones out there that I haven't been asked or haven't thought of myself or that you and I haven't talked about. So like I said, one of my favorite things to do is answer questions. So if you have them, please send them on in.
Send them in.
Yeah, leave them in the comments on the video, and Andrew will read the comments.
Okay, part 3 of this interview. We talked about first book. We talked about next book. Now we want to talk about current life, Casino Boss.
Okay.
All right. Describe your job.
I am a pit boss in layman's terms at a mega resort on the Strip, and I spend most of all day watching blackjack tables. Okay. We mentioned at the start that I've gone from dealer all the way up to shift manager, which is true, but if I could just add one more little step there, I actually started as a pit clerk, which was like a data entry position, which when everything was manual ratings and on paper and everything, I would take all that and put it into the computer so people could get their rewards credits. So that's where I actually started.
Cool.
So I've gone.
So you've gone all the way up.
Yeah.
Done the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, my first question on this is, since you're there and you're working, do people you work with or players, do they know you? Does it happen often where they go, hey, wait a minute?
Sometimes I've backed off a few players that I think got the message.
I'm saying, do they come to you and say, Did you write that book?
Oh yeah. You know what?
And do your coworkers know that you wrote that book?
Yeah. I'm pretty open about it, just like I am with you guys and your audience and everything. I'm pretty open about it everywhere. So yeah, people have stopped in before, and back when where I work was a little more public, people have stopped in and had me sign books, and coworkers.
And that never gets old, right?
Yeah. It's always great.
It doesn't. All right. So now the extension of that, how many good players do you see, and how do you handle it?
To be honest, I see more bad players than good ones.
Of course.
And sometimes it's hard to get the message across to the next level that bad players aren't necessarily a threat. Mm-hmm. A lot of times it's just looked at whether somebody or not is counting or not, and that's not always the full story, right? Like somebody could be a counter and know how to count, but not be a good player.
Absolutely.
So you add alcohol to the mix. You add a little bit of impulsiveness to the mix.
Yeah. I've actually seen kind of a lot of that lately, where people I can tell have the skills to count, but don't have the discipline to count correctly,
right,
and to play correctly, and to not drink, and to make the right moves when you need to, and that happens a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's unfortunate actually.
That's interesting. Now I got a question for you. Okay, so Anthony and I always talk about how Ellis Island has the 3-2 blackjack, how the Palms has the 3-2 blackjack. Yeah. We see 6-5 everywhere on the Strip. Is 6-5 here to stay, or do you think it's actually going to get worse than 6-5?
It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere, which is unfortunate for all the savvy blackjack players, but that's the truth. That's the world we live in. It happens a lot where people will come up to me in the pit and say, like, "Oh, all these 6-5 tables. How can you guys do this?" And it's hard not to say, look around, look at all these full tables. Mm-hmm. People are going to play these games, and that's just sort of the unfortunate reality of the Strip and it being a destination. As far as it getting worse, I believe that it could. I believe that the next, maybe not the next, but eventually I think we'll move towards even money on blackjack automatic winner.
Oof.
Wow.
That's bad. What about like those really bad side bets? So you think those are going to get any worse?
They're already bad
enough.
Yeah, they're already quite bad. Right. And not only is one side bet bad, but a lot of times you'll see. Apologize.
That's fine.
But a lot of times you'll see 2, 3, or even 4 side bets on a blackjack table. I've seen as many as 4 side bets on a blackjack table.
Okay, and so when people complain about the 6-5, maybe point to the side bets and go, listen, you don't have to play those. Those are even worse.
Yeah.
Well, some places you do have to play those. Golden Nugget.
Yeah, they've got a few tables where it's almost like an ante, right?
Yeah, if you don't make the side bets, you can't play the regular bet.
And that's how they get away with maybe a lower minimum or something.
That's how they do lower minimums. And
that's interesting.
It's we're going to do something in the advisor about that. We'll break it down. We'll break it down and show you how much more that costs you making those side bets. Yeah. So okay, let me follow up on that one then. What about the minimums? I mean, the minimums have gone sky high. You know, and what's the mentality behind it? I mean, is that the way it's going to be? I mean, is $5 and $10 blackjack completely gone? And what are the casinos doing? They just figure people do it because they want to do it. I mean, how far? Up to $25 minimums everywhere?
I talked about this with Bill Zender recently, that 15 is the new 5. Mm-hmm. It's hard to find a $15 table in Vegas, and if you do find one, it feels like it used to feel when you would find a $5 table.
Right, especially on a Saturday night or a Friday night.
Yeah, and 25's the new 10, and if you can find a $10 table, that's the new $3 table. That's what it feels like. Yeah. As far as a trend, I don't see it going down because you still walk.
They're full.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I walk up and down. Well, especially in a place, Bellagio. Some of the big joints, Mandalay Bay. You walk through and everything's 50.
Yeah.
And they're full. So why would you change it, right? That's the mentality. What the market will bear. They're going to play it. We don't have empty seats. Might as well make it 75.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And if you go through a higher end, on the other side of the Strip, at the Wynn, you'll see $100 and $200 tables out just on the floor, on the main floor. And like you said, people are playing them. So why would they lower them?
People got money.
What's that like? Does anybody know?
All right, another question. I'm glad to have you here because, I don't get to ask people. These are things that people ask me, and I go, I don't know. What about smart pits and stadium blackjack. What about getting rid of the dealer? Is that going to happen? I mean, if you want, here's one good thing about these smart pits and things. And the smart pits basically are places, are pits that have maybe one dealer that handles everything. Same with stadium,
Yeah.
So they get rid of the manpower costs and things like that. You do tend to find some lower minimums there. I mean, you do tend to find the 2s and 3s and 5s there at a lot of places, even on the Strip.
Yeah, I've seen some $5 and $10. I hesitate to call it stadium, but
electronic table games.
Electronic table games, ETGs.
Yeah,
and I like that. I think that's the perfect mix between like the full electronic, where it's just like the dealer on the screen that's pretending to deal to you. I think you still need that human element. People are coming to play and to interact, and
Is it a trend on the Strip? I mean, are more and more places, even the big places, going, we're going to go with this?
Yeah.
Recently, this is not the Strip, but Silver Sevens took out all their live, and they're all, I called it ETG, electronic table games.
Yeah.
And they're like Smart Pit. So, okay, smart pit. Okay.
The smart pits are the ones that run themselves, that don't have any dealers or anything. That's purely a slot product.
Okay.
The ETGs, how I distinguish them anyway, this might not be like the real way, but are the ones that have a dealer involved.
Oh,
and
good.
that
I didn't know the
Table Games
distinction.
has some authority over. But I like that. I think when you have a dealer on a game and they're actually dealing the cards or actually spinning the roulette ball, and then the rest is done, like the betting is done and the payouts are done on the machine, I think that's a great mix. And you are seeing those pop up.
Yeah.
There's a pit in almost every casino on the Strip of these sort of ETGs.
It takes some getting used to. I mean, if you're used to playing live, it takes some getting used to.
Yeah, it feels a little funny, but it's all still there, like just like this. The good ones anyway. The good ones still have like a real table, but instead of like this, there would just be a screen here where you can boop, 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 put your bets in. It's pretty cool, actually, I think.
Yeah.
I also noticed that a lot of these ETGs, they will pay 6 to 5 on a blackjack instead of even money that you'll find on a lot of tabletop, bar top blackjack games. And also now, especially the inner block ones, I'm seeing that there's like a wide variety of crazy side bets. But there's just so many of them. You can make like 10 different side bets along with your one hand of blackjack.
Yeah, so like on the regular tables, I mentioned how there could be 2, 3, or 4 on a machine. You can put as many as you want, right? And people love side bets, and everybody that comes up to a blackjack, not everybody, but all the people that come up to lower stakes blackjack tables want to go, well, do you have this side bet or do you have this side bet? You hear this all night long. Do you have this one? We like to play this one. We like to play. Those machines have almost all of them.
Yeah.
And you can play as many side bets as you want. A lot of times people end up betting more on the side bets than they do on the regular hand.
Yeah. Well, because you can win so much on the side bets. You can win 100 to 1. I mean, you go on tilt thinking, oh, maybe I'm going to get, like 2 queens, and then the dealer's going to get a queen, and then I'm going to make, 100 to 1.
Yeah.
Why do people play Keno?
Right. I can tell you.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that it turns it into a slot product, right?
Right.
Because you're going for the big win instead of just a blackjack play. But it sort of keeps that blackjack element. It's like I said, it's a perfect combination of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting you said. I mean, here's kind of a sort of a concluding question. You worked your way all the way up from pit clerk, and then you went and you didn't stay in. You stayed in the industry by going to the other side. Now you're back in the industry again. Is this your life? I mean, is it a good life? Do you want to be in the casino industry? You mentioned, your partner in the book went into nursing.
Yeah.
Is it like casino industry forever for Andy Ewell?
It's at this point, I'm pretty pot committed to being in gaming. Whether it's
talk industry.
Yeah. I'm all in. I'm all in on casinos, one way or the other. I don't even know at this point what else I'm good at. So I know I'm good at this, so I'm going to keep rolling with it for now.
Cool. Any other projects you got coming up that you want to talk about, or anything we left out that you want to talk about?
No, I'm really excited about the Untold Stories project. We'll see whether or not that's what it turns out to be titled, but I'm really excited about that and finishing it and getting it out and seeing what everybody thinks about it, and sharing this kind of stuff is really exciting. So.
Andrew, you had an interesting comment about insiders.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that your book. When I was in college, me and a lot of my friends, we all read On the Road by Jack Kerouac, and we liked going out and smoking weed and the adventure of the whole thing. But your book reminds me of On the Road, but Jack Kerouac's On the Road, but with blackjack players. And, these it's like these guys who kind of like left the casino business. They have a little bit of a renegade side, and they go, all right, we're going to go cross country and, take down some casinos, damn it. So, it's an action-packed story.
Kerouac Blackjack, I like it. I'll take that. I really appreciate that.
Well, also, if you're out there and you're looking for a good story or a good read, or, Anthony's got a few books in development for movies, or, so this one kind of seems like something that would be really good if you're a movie producer out there saying, like, hey, this is, these are two leading characters going across the country. I don't want to say Thelma and Louise, but, it's like a...
Yeah, they didn't go off the cliff at the end.
Right.
They got
it felt
close.
like it. It felt like it.
Close a couple of times. All right, 2 questions we ask all our guests. First one, favorite restaurant or restaurants in Vegas? Like if you're going to tell somebody, just try this, it's really good. What would you recommend? You can say as many as you want. But
I always recommend Joe's Prime Steak, Seafood, and Stone Crab. That's my favorite restaurant.
You high-end snooty dude, you.
It's high-end, but it's not outrageously pricey like some of the more trendy, like hipster type restaurants.
The way they are now, the best crab legs, huh?
Oh, it's amazing. Everything on their menu. Their steaks are great. The seafood is great. I love some crab stuffed shrimp and a crab cake. Oh, that's my favorite.
Where's that? Forum Shops, right?
It's in the Forum Shops.
Yeah, Caesars. All right, good recommendation. Oh, key lime pie too.
Yes,
very good.
I had that last time I went there, actually.
All right, and the other is, and it does not have to be a Huntington Press book. Just be honest. Your favorite gambling book?
My favorite gambling book would have to be...
Aside from your own, of course.
Oh, well, then let me think about it for just another second. Now, my favorite gambling book would be my first gambling book, which was Hollywood Blackjack by Hollywood Dave Stan.
Wow.
Yeah, cool. Hollywood Dave.
Of all of them that we've ever asked, we've never had a Hollywood Blackjack.
Oh, really?
There he is. That's Dave, right?
When Dave likes something, he snaps his fingers.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
We've had Dave on the show, and... that is one of the best blackjack books that people don't know about it. We now publish it. We acquired it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was published elsewhere. We acquired it, so it's now a Huntington Press book, and I can wholeheartedly recommend that as well.
I want to buy it before I leave because I love that book. I found it before I even started in the casino business. I found it at the library when I was unemployed, and I was just looking for something to read to pass my time, and I just... That book made me want to learn how to play blackjack.
Totally irreverent. Wow. I mean, if you want to be appealed to by a non-nerd, you want to read this book.
It's balls to the wall the whole time.
Yeah,
it's great. I love it.
It truly is.
All right, and I got one final question for you, and I think it's the one that the really rebellious card counters who watch our show, they're going to be listening for this. Now, without giving too much away into your new book, what are the pit bosses looking for? Can you give some examples what pit bosses look for when card counters are coming to the table?
The main thing is the spread. That's the one thing that almost everybody knows to look for is a spread. Most of them don't know what an accurate card counting spread would be. There's a misconception that if somebody makes a huge jump, that they're counting cards. Like if somebody plays $25 on one hand and then they play $2,500 on the next hand, like, oh, he knows something. He's got to be counting. That's not likely the case, but any kind of spread is gonna raise some attention.
Okay. Well, I'll say this for our friend George Antonakis. If they go from 25 to 2,500, they just might be rage betting.
In the book, I call that the WAG system, the wild ass guessing system.
I've seen it. I've seen it done. I've seen somebody who knows nothing about card counting go from a very, very small denom to, okay, here it comes. And, there's no card counting involved. It's just, I got a feeling.
Yeah.
And that's all it is most of the time. But if you can keep those spreads a little bit lower, then that helps.
All right, guys, that's it for this week. Thank you, Andrew Ewall, for coming on to the show and sharing insight for your book, Blackjack Insiders. Guys at home, if you want a great story, check out Blackjack Insiders. Movie producers, turn it into a script. Showrunners, give us a call. Anything else to add, Anthony?
Yeah, just to thank Andy for coming in. I mean, he's always been there when we ask for something. We had him on the list anyway, and he jumped the line because we needed him. And great guest, great book. Looking forward to the next one.
Well, thank you guys very much for having me. It's been a blast.
All right.
Our pleasure. Link in the description box.
Well, I'm going to Las Vegas.